Good morning, this is Sarah, your healthy carnivore, who's not going to play with her hair today. I'm not going to touch it once today, I promise. On day 78 of her 365-day carnivore challenge. And it's going to be a successful carnivore challenge because my videos are getting, the further I go down the line, the more sort of excited I'm getting. And so I'm even inspired by my own videos now. I'm even watching my own videos back because they're inspiring me. Sarah, you can do this. You can do this. This is your time. It's happening. My topic today is, when we discover the carnivore diet, do we go with intuition or do we go with science? Now, science is lacking in this area, and so I think we kind of have to go with intuition. But as Jordan Peterson said, when you've got tens and thousands of people all reporting good results, you no longer have just a whole bunch of anecdotes. You have a hypothesis. And why isn't anyone studying this? The reason being, there's just no money in it. There's no profit to be made in it. No one is going to stump up the millions and millions of pounds of their own money to study this when there's no return for them. And that is a sad state of affairs. We actually do have humans roaming around this planet right now that do have enough money to study the carnivore diet, but they're so greedy and so narcissistic, if that's the right word. They're such psychopaths and greedy, selfish psychopaths, if that's the right word. Apologies if I'm using the wrong words, because they're not going to make any money back from it. They're not interested. They're not interested in our human health. They're not interested in your health or my health. So they're not going to bother doing it. And as a result, we don't have a great deal of science around this way of eating. I know that Harvard did something in 2021, but it never made it out into mainstream, and it's never going to. Never going to. Because the people that want us to be sick and on medication are the higher force. That's a shame. So when we discover and hear about the carnivore diet, we have to go with anecdotes that build a fantastic hypothesis and trust in that, or we have to go with intuition. There's also another method though, and I think this method has been long since forgotten about, and I think it's a shame, but I am fortunate enough to be able to have a grandmother. Sadly she passed away, but I did have. She's still in my life every day. She walks around with me all the time, but I was so fortunate to have two grandmothers who were polar opposites in health. So I was able to look at that one, how did it work out for them? And I have to say, the grandmother that was married to the butcher, you may have heard this story or not, I don't know, but let's talk about it for a moment. My two grandmothers, one very unhealthy one very healthy one, what path did they take? Well, let's start off with the fact that in the 40s, the grandmother that was super healthy managed to marry 1940s, managed to find a butcher to marry. Alleluia. Her and my grandfather lived on fatty meat cuts. They had two massive chest freezers full of meat. And when the guidelines came round to lower fat and to lower meat, they completely ignored it. I also have the added advantage that particular grandmother was completely against doctors, completely against drugs, wouldn't take any vaccines. She was the pinnacle of health. And she, up until now, I've been alive quite a long time now, and in my opinion, and it is my opinion because I'm allowed it, she was the healthiest human I have ever encountered for that age. She did die at 93. I think she could have gone a bit longer. She did like the sweets as well. She did like the sugar as well. But her main part of her diet until my granddad died was fatty meats coming out of their ears. Butter, real butter, not the fake stuff. She walked a lot. She refused to go to doctors. She never took the flu vaccines or anything. She would have turned her nose up at statins if she'd been offered them. She didn't take anything. And do you know what? That woman never even got a cold. Her brain was perfect. Her hearing was perfect. She never lost her marbles. Physically, she was incredible. And if she had been completely carnivorous and had never eaten sugar, I think she would have gone well into her hundreds, but we obviously have no evidence of that. I can only go by what I saw from her. Now let's talk about my other grandmother. She did fall. She wasn't married to a butcher, and they were quite poor, so they would have eaten quite low quality foods. Lots of oats, lots of wheat, lots of tinned foods. They couldn't really help it. But she did fall for the low-fat nonsense, and she did fall for the eat as many vegetables as you can. And she always had healing books in her kitchen that were plant-based healing books. And she ended up with raging dementia that started off probably around in her early 80s and finished her off at around the age of 90. And the last 6 to 8 years of her life were horrific. I spotted it first. My mum was in denial for a while. I spotted it. But at that point, though, I hadn't heard of Carnivore, so I couldn't have brought her round. What a shame. That's not to say that you can pull anyone round. I knew about Carnivore when my mum was sick, and I couldn't do anything to help her. We can't always help people. Just because we have knowledge, we can't always help people. They have to want to be helped. And they have to be receptive and open-minded to new information. And when someone's got dementia that bad, probably not. But I look at my two grandmothers and I think one of them, low-fat, plant-based, low-quality food, ended up with severe dementia. Medications coming out of everywhere. She's the one with the pill pot with the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the morning, lunchtime and afternoon and evening pills. Different colour pills in each holes. You know, took the medications from the doctor, took the flu vaccine. Would definitely have taken the 2021 government injectable experimental one as well. What I'm saying is, when we can't rely on science, and if we've decided to reject anecdotes on social media, all we can really do is look up our family tree, see how people got on. Sadly, though, I think the times when we can use our ancestors are starting to come to an end now, because these nutritional guidelines have been embedded in our society for 50 years, 40 years, and the number of supersonically healthy elderly people is coming down. I think it's deliberate. And the average age now, for the average number of years past retirement is 6. So when you retire, if you are taking lots of medication and you are eating the government guidelines, I'm probably going to get my head chopped off for saying this. Probably going to get put in the Tower of London and then have my head chopped off for speaking out against the people that are supposed to be looking after us. You lot in Parliament are supposed to be looking after us. What are you doing? Put me away. Lock me up. I'm going to keep saying what I think. Yeah. But other members of my family used to look at this particular healthy grandmother and say, she's just lucky. It's just lucky genes. I don't think it is lucky genes. I think she made some of those choices were based on luck. She happened to marry a butcher, so some of that was luck based, and the rest of it was intuition based. Intuition. She intuitively knew, possibly by looking at her mother or grandmother, that they were eating all those fatty meats. I'd love to be able to talk to her now. I'd love to be able to talk to that grandmother now. I lost her when I was 22. So it's a long time ago now. But gosh, if she could come back to life just for one day, the conversations we would have would be so fascinating. She was an incredible inspiration to me, and I was so lucky to have somebody in the family tree above me who was that inspiration. And because I made a decision quite a long time ago that if I want to be like her, then I have to be like her. So if I want to turn out like her, if I want to turn out to live the most, because it wasn't just a long life, it was a vibrant life. She did make it to 93, but all of those 93 years were incredible. Very fit and healthy, going out, playing bowls, no gut problems, no joint problems. She even had an accident in the 80s where she fell over a box and she had a fracture in her leg. It healed so fast. In an 80-year-old, if she didn't put a joint out or have to have anything replaced, her joints were fine. Do you know what I mean? Intuition and ancestry. This is where we need to be looking. And if you don't have parents, and then of course this leads on to the fact that my mum was so sickly. I know I've talked about her before, but I can watch her and think, and a Dave Mack video talks about this as well. He had the brilliant Anthony Faisy on there, the guy from Lean 7, talking about we can look at our ancestors and we can work out what to do and what not to do. If we've got super sickly parents or grandparents, what were they doing? What medications were they taking? How were they eating? Were they getting regular exercise? Did they have a hopeful ambition and do stuff? When they retired, did they keep doing stuff or just sit in the chair and wait to die like my mum? Did they, obviously smoking's a bit controversial because I obviously follow Mitch at Old Guide Carnivore, and I actually do agree with him to a certain extent that I think that the hyper-processed foods are actually more harmful than smoking. That's my opinion. I'm not saying that we should all go out and smoke. I never have, never, because I thought it was disgusting. But in my personal opinion, it would appear, it's looking like the hyper-processed foods with seed oils and artificial ingredients in them right now do seem to be more harmful than what cigarettes were. My personal opinion, and I'm allowed it, okay? I believe that my mum died indirectly from her smoking. She did smoke, but because of her smoking, she could only spend very small amounts on food. So she had a budget that she would spend in the supermarket each week, but 80% of that budget was her tobacco, so 20% was food. So with that 20%, she could only buy the cheapest, most hyper-processed, most disgusting, low-quality foods going. And I think that that is what's killed her, in my opinion, and I'm allowed it. So that's something not to do. I've told my kids, don't spend 80% of your weekly budget on cigarettes, because then you'll end up on cheap, nasty, horrible, hideous processed foods, and that's what will make you sick. That's what I've told them. It seems to be working. My nearly 19-year-old doesn't smoke. Hallelujah. Let's hope the next one doesn't as well. Where am I going with this? Looking at our ancestors, looking up the family tree. What are they doing? What behaviours are they emitting or doing? And what health outcomes are they getting? Do they trust authority when they really possibly shouldn't? Do they have absolute love and faith in the doctors that just keep giving them more pills, more pills, more pills? And what does their health look like? This is what we need to be looking at. And if we're going to the doctor and with something slightly wrong with us, and we're just allowing the doctor just give us any pill, and then giving us pills for that side effect, and then giving us pills for that side effect, it doesn't take long before your body's like, what the hell are you doing to me? I don't like it. I'm now going to exhibit massively bad health for you. And back to this science thing. I can't remember if I talked about this in the beginning of the video or not, because I've had to rerun this because I didn't like the way the other one was going. But just in case I didn't mention it. This video was sparked off by a friend of mine who said to me, how can you possibly do the carnivore diet when there's no science? How can you follow that way of eating just based on a bunch of anecdotes? Where's the science? How are you doing it? And my response to her would be, firstly, I feel incredible. I feel at my best. I feel at my physical and mental best on carnivore, full stop. Secondly, do you think that if I'm feeling my best on carnivore, I am going to sit around and wait for huge studies to be done and then go out mainstream? Is that wise? If I feel incredible and I'm watching other people looking incredible, am I going to wait until I'm 70 or 80 or 90 to start this? Wait for the science to come that may never come? No. I'm going to go with the anecdotes. People say to me, vegans have said to me, so you're just basing this on an anecdote that you've seen? Yes, I am. Fight me. I am. I don't care about the botched nutritional science based on epidemiological studies that are just based on, did somebody have one postage stamp size piece of beef last month? Yes, they did. They're a meter. That's why they're ill. What else were they eating? But they are classing meat eaters in the same. These days, rightly or wrongly, I believe wrongly, humans are eating a plant-based diet. We are. Well, obviously I'm not. But the average person you meet on the street is eating a 90% plant-based diet. Okay? But it's the meat they're eating. It's the meat they're eating, of course. That they had a steak last week. So that steak is what has caused them all this diabetes and heart disease and cancer. That one steak they had last week. Don't worry about the Twinkies and the donuts and the Doritos and the whatever crap they've eaten this week. No, it definitely wasn't that. It was definitely that steak they had last month on their birthday. It's diabolical. And that is the science we're working with right now. That is nutrition science in a basic nutshell. It's, you all know this is preaching to the choir, but it's getting people to fill in questionnaires, putting it through a machine. It's probably not even going through a machine. They've probably already decided what they're going to say. These people are meat eaters because they had McDonald's last year. They had a hamburger and they did have an apple pie and a Slurpee and extra large fries and some chicken nuggets on the side, but it won't be the Slurpee and it won't be the fries or the apple pie. It was definitely that tiny bit of minuscule beef that they had in the middle. That is nutrition science. That is what we're working with. And so when people say to me, how can you possibly do the carnivore diet without science? I say, that sounds as ridiculous as it sounds. So I am going to keep going and I'm going to keep doing it. And then, of course, we had someone that had a heart attack in the space a few weeks ago. God, I bet the vegans loved that, didn't they? Does no one else have a heart attack? Is that the first person to ever have a heart attack in human history? The vast majority of people who have heart attacks are eating all the things. They're also, some of them, vegetarians and vegans. So that stops that rumour kicking off. Yeah. So this all came about with someone saying to me, how can you do that? How can you eat that way? How can you just trust people? It's that meme, isn't it? Don't confuse some Google search that you did with my medical degree. I'll take the Google search anytime. I'll take the YouTube community anecdotes anytime over your bullshit medical degree. Absolutely. I had my blood work done last August and I'm feeling like I should have it done again. I really wanted it to come up with really high cholesterol so that we could have the statin argument, but it came back normal. Annoying. I was really hoping that the cholesterol would be sky high so I could have a bit of a row with the doctor about how I don't want his disgusting statins. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say this morning. I wanted to talk about my amazing grandmother and what a fantastic influence she is on me. I doubt many of you have got to the end because it was a bit waffly and a bit ranty and a bit... Probably going to end up being put in prison now for being some kind of... You know... We have some training at school that's called Prevent Duty. It's called Prevent. And it's about looking out for children that might become... Well, they use the word terrorists, don't they? But of course... A lot of it, they're just saying that people like me are terrorists because I'm going to eat meat. Amazing. Eat your meat, people. I'm going to be in prison next week for saying that because it's such a disgusting thing to say. Anyway, I'm irritatingly happy today because we're going to have some sun. It's Monday morning. It's going to get busy today. If you've got sun where you are, go and get some. If you've got some meat in the house, go and eat it. If you've got some water, go and drink it. And don't listen to bullshit nutritional science. Look out for up your family tree and see what happened there. and just thrive. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow on day 79. Is that 79 tomorrow? I think it is. Amazing. I'm losing count. See you tomorrow. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.